All right, my babies, we're recording. So before I went there, I got a copybook, and I actually love this stuff. Like anytime a new topic gets to my mind, I kind of get a copybook. I flush everything I find everywhere on those sheets of paper, I guess. And ultimately, I just enjoy as much as I can adding things to it. Sometimes they happen at once, like over a course of 2, 3 weeks, I just fill it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like the best looking thing. Sometimes there are circles, and sometimes I don't have a copybook next to me, and if I'm thinking of something, I just go choose it, basically, jump. But ultimately, by doing that, I kind of like unload my thoughts, and I end up one way or another engaging directly with the topic at hand. So before I left, I had the meeting with the person, and let's kind of like revise. He has a factory. He does plastic tanks, very high quality plastic tanks, and the market that he's in over the past basically 8 years has shifted from steel tanks to plastic. Plastic was unreliable for, I think, polyethylene or something like this. Like maybe I should know the details, maybe no, I don't know. But like, there's a plan next month for me to go to the actual to the country again and like start implementing my training program. And the goal with that is to be able to kind of like start doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. And from now till next month, I have to prepare, and I have to prepare, set up the planning, set up the structure, set up the branding, and all that good stuff. Now, I did a lot of work when I was there, but it was mostly like research work. Like you have to get stuff in your head. I have no, I don't know how formal this is. Like I did research on a lot of stuff, and I imagine just the image of professionalism sticks to my head. But the reality is, like everyone kind of like figures out their way to do it, and they do it in a way where everyone else can actually understand what they're presenting or what they're like engaging with. And I think that's the aspect of like professionalism, especially in the field of interacting with businesses. And remember, my trade has been just like for the past like 12 years, all I've done was like try to build businesses. Now I'm approaching it from a more structured oriented and with research and everything like this. And I never used to actually like make a plan. I'd like figure stuff out, write them down, and then basically one after the other, just like get them out of the way until finally I have a business set up. Now we're taking a business that's already set up, it's already been established for 8 years, and we're elevating it. So that's kind of like a level up from how I used to do things and how I did not necessarily succeed in them because like I closed more companies than I've closed 9 companies, man. And the last one recently, like 6 months to a year ago, over a course of like 12 years. And all of them I built myself. So it's a hell of a like adventurous kind of entrepreneurship vibe. But anyway, so when I started thinking plastic tanks, I focused on the whole concept of water because like you can play with water a lot, and ultimately the quality of his tanks like protect the water, make it clear, make it clean. A better setup for filtration systems under the sun, the better quality plastic. At least like the sun doesn't crack because low quality plastic, the tanks crack after a while. With steel, they rust, especially if it's low quality steel. But the high quality steel is so expensive, so the people over there kind of like never bought the high quality steel, but like then got sicker over time. So I have to play with the whole marketing concept of like health and lifestyle management, and that's something that doesn't really exist over there because like as long as they're eating and they have a roof over their head, they're happy people, which is amazing. But we can always like do better. Always we can do better. We can look at our day in a different way. We can try to like do things differently. We can establish things differently. I don't know. Like me going there kind of like took me out of my vibe. And after I came back the past 3 days, I've been feeling a bit weakened, even though I went to the gym the first day. But I felt like there's a lot that has to kind of come out. And over the next hour, I plan on splitting the videos in a way that kind of like slowly, one after the other, build on top of each other in order for me to kind of like empty this copybook and finalize what I'm doing. So, plastic base of production here, I'm talking about water. I'm just like throwing words out there. I even experimented with hex code colors for the website they have, and I tried them out. There's a good there's a good website called COOLORS colors, but double O. And that website basically allows you to match up to 5 different colors so that you understand like the brand colors that you're working with and things that you kind of like build upon. And here basically I'm writing like the basic production for healthy water needs, healthy water, refreshing, rejuvenating, all that good stuff. At the beginning, I was only thinking like, how would people feel when they wash with hot water, when they wash their face, or when they wash their face with cold water. It's a completely different vibe. Uh, then again, like we're targeting people that are used to always like comparing money, so they don't care for quality as long as like there's a tank that holds water, and if it's after 2 years gonna break, so I'll worry about it 2 years down the line. But that's we all know the that's not the systematic way of thinking. On top of all of that, you like a warranty of 10 years, which is what the factory that I'm working with actually gives. A warranty of 10 years kind of saves you 4 extra tanks of cheap water. If only you pay like I think 25% more or 35% more, which I was against because I think like if you want to distinguish between quality, you have to show people value. And I think a higher price is actually a very strong, like solid deal. But anyways, so here I'm just writing stuff like spend, save expenses, land, investment, construction, other expensive stuff. Ooh, oh, and I think this was a trip when I was actually like with a friend of mine. I think here we kind of like sat together and kind of like established if you actually want to start seeing money in your future, you have to be more prepared on what you would spend it on because most people, if you give them money, they don't know what to spend it on. So nothing actually changes in their life. It's just wasted on food or booze or just like clothes, but nothing that systematically approaches life. And I think here is where I kind of like entered a certain zone. Uh, like I split like this. Since the birth. Oh, okay. So this is part of things that I write. Since birth, the spirit is the first thing that started forging, and the body found, and the body found itself around it, and the mind opened up and built a connection to consciousness. And here I wrote mind, spirit, brain, body, consciousness. I wrote these words, so kind of like in a way, I'm kind of like creating the pillars for my next thought process. And here I dive into details. A spirit. What is a spirit? And I write a depiction, which is two people facing each other. And I'm very much influenced by Japanese culture. Miyamoto Musashi talks a lot about a spirit, a strong spirit. And fascinating, like when people like that actually have a conversation, they tend to always, when they're talking from like a very deep sense of formulating, where they kind of like profoundly establish something within themselves. And so you believe them, but you don't really understand what they're trying to point out. And it's often with people that you respect or you hold in like, oh, it's like, wow, amazing. And again, like, 500 years ago, so stories probably got embellished over and over and over again. The idea behind it is like things that he talks about are like things that he established throughout his life. And then I'm looking at myself and go like, what are the things I'm trying to establish? And I'm trying to understand the things he's trying to establish and how he approached life. So I'll be able to kind of like in the modern day translate it. So that's super fun. And I thought of ways to empower the spirit, strengthen the connection with the body, harmonizing it with the mind, and my mind, the mind that connects me to the universal consciousness. Um, Life is everywhere, man. It's just like the butterfly effect. I don't know if anyone knows about it, but ultimately, like, everything we do affects everything we do, and we can affects everyone, and we have to take responsibility not just for our stuff, but the stuff other people do. Because ultimately, if somebody next to you is just like being in a bad mood, you're gonna get affected. So might as well just take responsibility from the beginning and either handle the bad mood, leave, or just like find your way to kind of like create a better situation, I guess, or something. I don't know. But I was just here writing down what are the things I thought about on my walk that morning. So I don't necessarily remember what are the things that crossed my mind that brought up these concepts in my head. They came and out. So if walking is a tribute to the universe, that's something that I promised myself at one point. Reading, writing, learning, understanding, and contributions to the senses that reconnect to the mind and the reality that I'm building. Exercising, meditation, and activities contribute to the spirit. That's what I kind of came up with. A strong spirit is reflected in a strong body because confidence in yourself, the kind of like feeling that you get out of like just being able to move any way you feel like it, right? Like we all feel weaker once we're sicker, although we ourselves mentally not necessarily get weaker, but it's our body represents us. So in a way, not in a way that that's the truth, I guess. That is the truth. Like, there's no point believing in something like this. We literally have real life examples that happen with us. And every single thing we do is always basically reflected, whether it is in our thoughts or in our physical sense or in our mind, right? It's like, there's you, there's the mind, and then there's the body. And the body is basically the brain, because the brain is the connection you have to the body. And so the real world is like this duality of the physical existence and the mental existence. And anything you are is always reflected in the both. It's also the other way around, because if your thoughts are kind of all over the place, you kind of like start feeling weaker. And if your body's feeling weak, you kind of start feeling weaker. So like that's probably like our spiritual connection to this reality. I don't know. I'm trying to explain it right now, which is the point of this exercise. And it was fun. I remember that morning. I kind of like sat by myself for like an hour, just like thinking of stuff to write. It was beautiful. I was actually looking at a mountain that's been standing there ever since I was born. We used to go camping there, so it was like a fun mood slash exercise doing it. Good day. This is the first part of this video. I still did not cross 5 fucking pages of the fucking copybook. Amazing. Yalla.